Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while. Y'all know I'm just all over the place these days. And if you are new here, my name is Jamila Bell. I used to do a lot of comedic videos on YouTube and I've transitioned to more of a vlog style, informational YouTube channel. I really want to focus on giving information as it relates to me being a labor doula and lactation consultant. So a lot of my videos are going to be more so geared towards that type of information. And if you are still interested in me as the comedy queen that I am, make sure y'all are following me on TikTok because that's where all the skits are going to be. And while you're there, go ahead and follow me on Instagram as well. You need to be following me on all accounts so you can get all this content. So we're here today because a video I dropped on TikTok, it caused a lot of controversy. It was not necessarily my intent to cause controversy, but I knew I was speaking on a controversial topic, so I'm not really surprised by a lot of the discourse that's going on in the comments. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I dropped a video on TikTok about Lotus birth and my opinions and thoughts on it as a doula working in the birthing space. So if you're like, what is a Lotus birth anyway? So a Lotus birth is when the parent allows the newborn baby to stay attached to the placenta until it would naturally dry and crust off. That can take anywhere from 5 to 16 days depending on the baby and the environment that it's in. What is typically done in a hospital setting is once the baby is delivered, the doctors or midwife goes ahead and clamps the cord and allows for either the birthing partner, spouse, or whomever is there to cut the cord. So then they detach the placenta from the baby, and then you have like this little bitty nub of umbilical cord stump left on the baby. And again, that takes anywhere from 5 to 10 days to dry and crust off, and then you have a belly button. So the reason I did a video on my personal thoughts about, whether or not this is something I would recommend to my clients is because it was really trending on TikTok for a brief moment. I've seen a lot of different videos about people performing Lotus births or considering it. I would see the comment sections full of people saying how they wanted to do a Lotus. I can't damn speak today, huh? Anyways, I seen a lot of people in the comments saying how they really wanted to do a Lotus birth, and I was like, okay, before this gets to a certain point, I think as somebody who works in this space, I should be a voice of reason, and I think I should give my talking points. So I was looking for the counter, and I seen a lot of doctors and midwives chime in. I will say, all of the ones that I seen chime in were white. So I know you're thinking, what does that have to do with anything? So this is what it has to do with. When we're talking about the birthing space, when we're talking about the maternal health of Black women, it is something very sacred. It is something very nuanced that we have to talk about. And I'm definitely going to do some separate videos about that, but just kind of give you a very brief overview of what we deal with in the health realm. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in child labor than white women. And that has nothing to do with our, Blackness being predisposed to death. What that has to do is medical racism. And like I said, I'm going to do a whole video on that specifically. So because of that alone, and also there's other industries and ways that in which medical racism comes into play, we as Black people, especially Black women, have a distrust in the healthcare field. Rightfully so. So when I seen it was nothing but white women giving their 2 cents on Lotus birth, I knew that I needed to be a voice as well. I knew that there needed to be some level of representation. Even though I agreed with these videos, I knew that sometimes it's better coming from someone who looks like you. So that's what I did. So with all that being said, what are my thoughts as a doula on Lotus birth? Here are my thoughts. As a spiritual practice, I think in theory it's beautiful, and I do understand why it would be alluring to some people. But when it comes to practicality and when it comes to medical risk, I do not think it's a good idea. I think that there are way more risks than there are perceived benefits. Some of the perceived benefits, a lot of them have to do with spirituality and not actual health benefits. And on top of that, there's not a lot of research done in this practice to validate those claimed benefits. When it comes to risk, this is something that's very important to note. The placenta in itself is a temporary organ that female people grow when they are pregnant. It's not something that we're born with. It's not something that we have throughout our life. It is something that grows and develops during gestation, okay? Once we deliver the baby, we then deliver the placenta. It is done. It has done its work. It's done what it's come here to do. And at that point, once it detaches from the uterine wall and is delivered, it begins to die because it does not have a body to sustain it. Let me just make this very clear. When I'm talking about a Lotus birth, I am in no way talking about delayed cord clamping. That is a separate practice, and I will do a completely separate video on delayed cord clamping. I'm talking about Lotus birth. When you keep a placenta attached to a baby, you have to think about what are the risks, what can happen when you keep something that is decaying to a newborn baby. Newborn babies do not have an immune system at all. They are developing it. They also don't have the necessary tools equipped to fight off certain bacteria and infections, so it strikes them a lot harder than it would an adult. The placenta is dead flesh, so keeping it clipped to the baby can lead to serious bacterial infections and even death. And I recognize that in my TikTok, I kind of just said, your baby can die. And I think that, you know, looking back, that was a little bit harsh, but I needed it to be very clear. Like, I'm not trying to make this sound sweet because it's not sweet. And these are the real actual implications of this type of practice. With that being said, as a doula, my job is to never make decisions for my clients. I am here to educate you, number one. That is my first things first. I am here to give you as much information as I possibly can to allow you to make the best decision for you and your family. And I am here to advocate for your decisions. So if my client was to come to me and say, hey, I want to do a Lotus birth, I, as their doula, have the ethical obligation to let them know all of the risks that are involved with that. If they look at me in my eye and say, thank you for giving me all of those risks, Jamila, I still would like to proceed. I will be their number one advocate in that hospital because that is something that they want to do. With that being said, if you or somebody you know is still wanting to do Lotus birth despite the risk, it's important to tell your medical providers, because once you leave the house, if something was to happen, your medical staff needs to know what to look for so that they can fix it if possible. When it comes to labor and delivery, there's a lot of different options. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different practices and procedures. And as a doula, it is my job to make sure my clients know what all of those things are and that they feel like they have adequate information so that they can make a proper decision. I am not here to judge. I am not here to persuade. I am not here to make decisions for my clients. And I think it's very important as doulas we remember that. If you guys have any questions about Lotus birth or anything in the doula space, please make sure you leave them in the comments below, and I'll be sure to either respond to you or make a video about it. So with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to follow me on all of my platforms at _I am Jamila, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.